So we're open to take some questions if anyone has some.
The CEO of Hydro Quebec told us this week that he met with employees. I don't know if your members are part of that while he was in town. And the more employees of MB Power hear about the deal, the more they like it. What's your reading on that?
Well, he met with managers and directors, so folks at a very high level. I had a chance to meet with him briefly, and I can tell you, though, that our members that work out in the field are very anxious about this deal. They've not received much in the way of communication, and the type of things that we've gotten, it's not anything which is legally enforceable. So the problem is we can't just say, well, everything is going to be fine. What we need to see is legal commitments, things that are hard and fast that we know that we can count on on a go-forward basis. And particularly troubling are the folks that are in generation, because if you've read the MOU, they're saying that Dalhousie plant will shut down in the very near future, and Coulson Cove and Baldoon, which are two very important plants in this province, could shut down with as little as 12 months' notice. So the folks there that are very concerned, and it goes beyond just our members. I mean, can you imagine somebody that is in the middle of the power engineering technology program at MBCC, for example? Last year they would have seen a very good career ahead of them. Now the future's not clear if there's going to be opportunities for them or not.
And your initial response was, I don't know, not overly critical, I guess. In your video on the website, you said that you had to not burn bridges and so on. And one of the things you cited was that, for example, the existing pensions were going to be guaranteed by the province. So what have you heard from members that has sort of moved your position a bit?
Well, the continuing lack of clarity on a lot of issues. I mean, the problem is when they first announced this deal, you'd expect that, things sounded good. We had some general assurances that, collective agreements would move through. But then when you see the MOU, what it says is that members will be offered employment. It doesn't say that people will be seamlessly transferred with all their rights and benefits and the things that they've accrued. So the language is kind of unclear. In the last 2 weeks, we've continued to get kind of, everything will be looked after. But, 2 weeks have gone by. We have not been told, this is the team that's working on this particular issue, and you can sit down and let's understand what your issues are, and we'll make sure that it's incorporated in the final document. And that's kind of concerning to us, because I just can't sit back and say, okay, I trust that everything is going to work out. That's not my job. I have a job to do to make sure that I look after the workers and make sure that their rights and the promises that are made are actually kept and done in an enforceable way.
Is it easier for you to come out now and say these things at this time after there's been some considerable, shall we say, public opposition to this?
Well, the thing is for me is what have we found that we can tell our members and that our members have actually known, right? That's my major concern. That's the number one thing. And, to date, we haven't got anything that is concrete and in a way that, is contained in language that's enforceable on a go-forward basis. Our folks are very anxious, and that's my main concern for you. Nobody should have to worry when they go home at night. Are they going to have, how are they going to provide for their families on a go-forward basis? The fact is, our folks have worked in this province, for a long time. We've supplied probably the best electrical service on the East Coast, and they shouldn't have to be anxious and worry.
Are you hoping that some of the public opposition that's been out there today picks up on what you're speaking on behalf of 2,200 people, maybe more?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the concern I've observed in the public is the same concern that I have: the lack of uncertainty, the lack of clarity about what will actually happen on a go-forward basis.
You've talked about keeping the 3 power plants open. With the Copenhagen meetings happening this week and the possibility of a cap and trade system coming in, what consideration have you given to environmental and economic costs that could be attached to the continuation of running those plants?
Well, I think the key thing about these plants, when you look at the type of generating stations that are in North America, these 3 plants were actually 3 of the first 6 plants on the whole continent that installed the sophisticated emissions control equipment that they have. So they're actually 3 of the cleanest plants in North America. It doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, we know that we cannot replace our total electrical load in this continent right now with renewables and nuclear and other forms of non-CO2 emitting generation. So it doesn't make sense when you have 3 plants that are probably 3 of the best plants in North America. In fact, both Belledune and Dalhousie have won awards as the most efficient plants in the thermal fleet in North America. It doesn't make any sense to close those plants down. I mean, they're dirty plants that continue spewing pollutants into the air. These are 3 of the cleanest plants on the continent. It doesn't make sense to close them down. Any further questions? I really appreciate you coming out today, and I'll be around if anybody wants to speak with me. Please feel free.
Any rank and file members here in the room we can talk to? Because you encouraged them
Yeah.
all to speak freely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have one fellow here that's, I mean, they're at work keeping the lights on, but we've got one fellow here, Don St. Pierre, is on my executive board. He works in the Customer Interaction Center here in Fredericton as a subject matter expert, and I'm sure that he'd be open to talking with you. Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate your time.